This is a basic example of a ratcheting gear. A ratcheting gear allows rotation in one direction but not the other, and it does this through a simple but brilliant design that it's made up of a gear and an arm. This design is used in come-alongs, ratchet straps, and ratcheting wrenches. So let's get to Onshape and start designing. So to start off, let's build a stand for our gear to sit on. And let's do this by sketching on the front plane. Let's sketch a rectangle. And for the rectangle, let's dimension it at 15 millimeters by 70 millimeters. And then let's just move this over and position it here. And then let's move our dimensions so they're more clearly seen. And then let's just center it up by 7.5 there and 35 here. So now we got that in the center. Now let's just add a 3-point arc by clicking on this corner, and then we'll align the center dot with the top of our square. And so that's good. Now let's click on this line and just hit Q. Oh, let's click on this line and hit Q, and that turns it to a construction line. So now that line is not used. And then let's go ahead and make our circles for, this is what the gear and the arm are going to slide through. So let's make these both 5 millimeters. All right, and then we've got a fully constrained sketch there. So let's go ahead and accept that. Now let's go ahead and extrude this 5 millimeters. Now let's make a base for it and just do a sketch on the bottom, and we'll sketch this on the bottom of that extrusion. And then let's just go ahead and do like 45 millimeters by 45 millimeters. And then, because you should always make your designs look good, let's just add some fillets to this. All right. Oh, that. Okay. Now it's not fully constrained because we need to go ahead and dimension this to the center, which will be 22.5. And then we'll, and it's because this side is constrained to this bottom axis here. This is the constraint to the bottom axis. So that's a fully constrained sketch, so we can accept that. And then let's go ahead and extrude. Let's do 5 millimeters and make sure and click on the bottom face of that as well. So that'll add it automatically to our part. And then we have our fully designed and built stand. So now let's go ahead and build the gear and the arms. So let's just create a sketch on this front plane here, or on the face of that extrude. And so then what we're going to do is we're going to, let's go ahead and make the gear, let's make it 50 millimeters. And then the gear, we're going to have it stand off from the stand just a little bit. So let's just make that 12 millimeters. So we'll have 2 circles there. Then we're also going to need the little rod that goes all the way through. And let's make this 4.5. And on your 3D printer, you might need to play with this because you want it to go into the hole and spin freely without binding, but you don't want it to wobble up and down. So depending on the calibration of your 3D printer, you might be able to make this a little tighter, or you might need to reduce this a little bit. So then let's go ahead and right here, let's also do another 4.5. And then let's do 7 millimeters for the top portion of the arm. And then for the center portion of the arm. And then if we come down here, we're going to make another circle that's 4 millimeters. And then what we're going to do is the distance from here to here. Let's make this a little more. Let's make this 6. We may need to adjust that, but I think that's going to be good. And then let's do a line from here to here. and another line, which is a shortcut for line on your keyboard is L from there to there. Then let's use the tangent constraint. Click on the line and the circle. Click on the line and the circle and line in the circle. There we go. And so now that's fully constrained. We can use the trim tool to cut these because we don't need these. Let's move this so that's a little easier to see. And that kind of takes care of the arm. So let's go ahead and confirm this sketch. And let's go ahead and extrude, starting with the gear. So let's extrude this. And I got to make sure that I click on all three of these. So this is my offset, right? That's going to make the gear kind of off from the wall a little bit. And let's have it offset. Let's do it about 6 millimeters. I think that should be plenty. Let's make this sketch visible again, and let's now extrude this, including that, right? Not including that, including these three back here. There we go. Okay, and now let's do a starting offset of 5 millimeters and have this be 3 millimeters thick because we don't need it to be super thick. And if we look at this from the right side, just to see what we've got there, let's make it 6. No, oh, it's doing this whole. Let's remove part 1 so that we can make sure and click on this. Okay, there we go. Ooh, now you notice what's happened here. I didn't realize I'd done this. I'm going to confirm that, but then I'm going to come back to this extrude and instead of add, change this to new because I want this to be a new part. All right, and then make that visible again. Now on this extrude for this gear, this is going to be an add, and I'm going to be adding it to part 2. So 3 and 5 works. And so then there we go. We have our nice little gear with our offset, but we're not done with this. We need to have the piece that comes all the way through, the little rod. So let's go ahead and extrude that the other direction. And let's just do this. Let's see, 10 millimeters. Does that look good? That's a little much actually. So let's go 8. Yeah, that should work. We're going to create a little collar back here that allows it to press fit and hold on. Okay. So that is our big gear basically modeled. Now let's go ahead and extrude. Let's just extrude this back 10 millimeters. Or no, what did we say? We said 8, right? We just check that. Yeah, that looks good. Okay. Actually, what I'm going to do, I'm going to do a starting offset on this of 1 millimeter. Make this 9 millimeters. So that'll just make it a little bit easier for everything to join because I'm going to continue building this part out. So I'm going to extrude and we're going to extrude this. This is new though. Or actually, it's going to be an add, but it's going to be an add to this part. And it doesn't like that because if we remove part 1, we can turn around to the back side and we can make sure that we are also extruding this piece here. Actually, I'm going to stop that. I'm going to remove part 1 so we can see all this a little bit easier, right? Okay, and now what we're going to do is we're going to click on this center circle, this one, and this one. Okay, there we go. We don't want this 25 millimeters though. We only need this about 3 millimeters. So I'm gonna look at this from the right side. And what I'm looking for is the paw has to line up here and the paw is gonna rest against this. So I actually want this to come out about 5 millimeters. So that's about right there. And then I'm going to do, just because this extrusion came out, and if this happens to you, let me show you how to fix it. You can do remove, click on this, right? But then if you do bind up to face and you click on this face here, that will flush that piece all up. Okay. So there we go. That kind of handles that piece. Now let's go ahead and turn part 1 back on so we can just kind of see how this is all coming together. Now let's go ahead and make our tooth. And to do that, we're going to do a sketch on this plane. And I'm going to do a sketch. And you notice the constraint is now, we have 2 constraints, parallel and coincident. And so that means it's attached to the circle and it's parallel to the center. So I'm going to click there. I'm going to come back here just a little bit and make this, let's make this maybe, let's make it 2 millimeters. Okay. And then let's do another line, constraint to there and to this. And let's make this 6 millimeters. Okay. And then what I want to do is I just hit D on my keyboard, which gives me dimension. I'm going to click on this point here, go straight up and make this 0.2. That fully constrains this in a very nice way. Now, I think we're going to have a problem a little bit with these 2 pieces. So I want to come back to my second sketch. No. I want to come back to the third sketch here, and let's change the 6 to a 4. That just gives us a little more clearance. Let's also turn off the third sketch. Now let's extrude our fourth sketch the other direction, 3 millimeters. So now we have our first tooth on there. Now to create the rest of our teeth, we can use the circular pattern. And you see it says part pattern. We're going to change this to feature pattern. And the features to pattern, we're just going to click on this extrude right here. The axis of the pattern. Okay, now I have a mistake. I got to have to cancel this because I didn't create my axis. So let's do a sketch on the side, on the right plane. Let's hit the line tool and hit Q to make it a construction line. Click on the center, drag this out, and just say 20 millimeters. And that's fine. And confirm that sketch. Now let's go back to the circular pattern. The entities to pattern are extrude 9, which is that teeth extrude. Now we're going to say feature pattern. Got to click on 9 again because I had the wrong thing there. Now the axis of the pattern is this line here. And we need to check the box that says reapply features. And then for the instance count, let's make that 30. There we go. We hit confirm. We have our ratcheting gear completely designed there. So now we need to design our little arm here that will hold the pawl arm. So let's sketch on this plane. And what we want to do here is sketch 3. Sketch 3. We want to make sketch 3 visible. This point here, which is the center of kind of this bottom arc, right? We want to click on the use here, the use project, click on this dot, and that makes that available for us. Now if we can turn sketch 3 off, and we can do a little circle here, and let's say 2.5. Okay, and this is our arm. So let's go ahead and extrude this. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to extrude this by 8. I'm going to make it a new part. I'm going to set a starting offset of 2.5 millimeters in the opposite direction. So if we remove part 3, you can see that this is actually protruding into part 3. And it's also a little bit long. So let's do not 8. Let's do 6. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, I think that's gonna work. Okay, now let's go ahead and sketch on top of here. And we'll do another circle. And see that little box? That means it's going to be constrained to the center of the circle face. And let's just do this 4 millimeters. Confirm that. And then let's go ahead and extrude. Make sure we say add. We're going to extrude this and this. We're going to do it by 3 millimeters. Let's do it by 2 millimeters. That looks a little... Okay, there we go. And confirm that. So now we have this pen, but it's basically kind of... It wouldn't work like this, right? So what you can do is you can take the Boolean tool. You can do subtract. Make sure keep tools is checked. This is going to be our tool. So this is what's going to be doing the subtraction. Our target is going to be this piece here. And what we want to do is create an offset. The offset is going to be 0.3. I found 0.3 is really good if you want to kind of create a snug fit. And then the faces to offset is this one. And so then you can see, if we confirm this, that now it's kind of created this little pocket for this pen to fit in. You just make sure, yeah, 0.3. And you look at this and you go, man, that's a big space there. But it's because this part isn't actually that big. So there we go. So that's our little arm. Now what we want to do is we want to make sure and sketch our paw. So this, I'm going to rename this to paw pen. Let's rename this to stand, just so we can. And then part 2 is going to be our gear. And then part 3 is going to be, I'm going to call this paw arm. And then let's go ahead and turn the pen off. Let's sketch on this face again. What we want to do here is we want to make sure we're constrained to the center, but we want to go out beyond this a little bit. So let's make this let's make this 3.5. Let's do another circle of 5 millimeters. And so then that is kind of how our paw will attach to this piece, right? So then let's come here and just draw a line straight off of here, say about 15 millimeters. And then let's do another line here. Let's make this one about 5 millimeters. Then let's come up here, say about, I don't know, that we don't actually care what that measurement is. All right, and so then we're going to draw another line back here. Let's make this one 11 millimeters. And then what we need to do is hit D for dimension, and then here and here. And let's set this at like 115. Okay. And then what we need to do, maybe we do care about what's our, if we turn off dimensioning, we can kind of click on these and move them so you can see that our problem is we haven't set this thickness. So let's go here to here and set this to 2.5. Okay. So then we have all of that, and now we can take our trim tool and cut that, and that creates our paw. So if we confirm that sketch, we can now extrude this, and we probably only want to extrude this maybe 3 millimeters. Let's turn on our paw pen. And this is a new part. Make sure you have that selected. Okay. If we did a starting offset and did it like 0.5, 0.3, it doesn't give us a lot of movement in there. But I do think it's going to work. I do think that's going to be, I think it'll be enough that it will be able to swing in there. Yeah. I mean, you could always come back here and do 2.8, something like that. You know, maybe I'll leave it at that. That way it gives us a little more movement, because this simple design, normally what you would do in a ratcheting gear system like this is like here, you would have like another little extrusion here that comes off towards the back, right? And then you would have another little piece here, and you'd have a spring that connects this to this so that the arm is being pulled down. But that's not what we're going to do here, because we're keeping it very, very simple. So let's go. We're almost done. We're going to go to the back. And what we're going to do here is we're going to design our collar. So let's do a sketch on this plane here, the face of that extrusion. And for our collar, we want it here. And for the inner diameter of our collar, we're going to do 4.4, which gives us, just as you can see, just ever so slightly a little bit of space there. And then for our outer diameter of our collar, let's do 10. Makes it a little bit bigger, a little easier for us to, press it on there, because that's what we're gonna have to do. Okay, so then let's just drag up here. I'm gonna hit back over here on this little cube. That'll kind of square us up. And so then let's do this again. So constrain to there. With that little box, you see we're at the center. We're gonna do again 4.4. And then we're gonna do, let's do, let's do 10 again. Okay. And then I want to do something a little different here, right? I want to do something similar to what we did on the paw, where I'm just going to come out. Let's come out like 20. And then actually, let's not do that. Let's just create another circle. If you highlight this and drag out, it will constrain it to the center of that circle. So let's create another one. Let's do this one. Let's do it 8. Okay. And then for here to here, I hit D. So I'm dimensioning this. Let's do 20. And then I'm going to hit L for the line tool. And I'm going to just make a line between here and here. And I hit escape. Now L again. Line from here to here. Okay. And then I need to tangent constrain this line to this circle. Now I have a fully constrained sketch. I'm going to use my trim tool. I'm going to cut this and cut this. And then I'm going to do another circle of 5 millimeters there. All right. And that's fully constrained. So we're going to confirm that. Okay. So now what we're going to do is let's do an extrude of this. And we're saying this is a new part, right? And let's do it 3 millimeters. Cool. Let's do it actually 2.5. I think that would be better. Okay, here we go. That's our collar there created, right? Let's make this sketch visible again. And let's go ahead and extrude this, this, and this. Actually, let's not extrude this circle. Not right now. And so let's do this 3 millimeters. Okay. And confirm that. Let's do one more extrude of this center circle. And let's do this one 10 millimeters. Okay. And then let's go ahead and do the fillet and click on that and just do a radius of 3. Did I click on the wrong thing? Oh, it's not big enough for a radius of 3. There we go. Just because I did a radius of 1, and it just makes it look a little nicer. Okay, so now what we've done is we've given ourselves a little rotating arm that we can rotate this by. So there we go. That is a little bit of an improvement over the initial design that I did, but it gives us all the pieces in there for our ratcheting gear. So now all you get to do is throw it into your printer, your slicer, slice it up, print it, and oh, let's go ahead and rename this to pawl and rename this to collar. Oh wait, what is this? Yeah, this is the collar. Oh, okay. I don't know if you realize this. I just realized this. This is part of this. So I screwed up on this last extrude. It's added to the stand, which we don't want. So this is a new, nope, sketch 14, extrusion 14 is a new part, not an add part. So if we confirm that, okay, there we go. And so now we can rename this to crank arm. And wait, what is this? Oh, this one is not. It's trying to add it to the stand, which I'm surprised it didn't error that. So merge with scope. We're going to merge it with part 7. Confirm. Now rename part 7. Crank arm. Here we go. That's better. Okay. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and include a link to this in the description in case you want to come back and reference anything if you get stuck at any part. But that is it. That's our simple ratcheting gear mechanism designed in Onshape, ready to 3D print. See you next time.